have the risk of gestational diabetes. What about urination? She's going to start peeing all the time, just like in the diabetic, which explains increased urination in early pregnancy. Then this one, with being so prominent, and then that second trimester, she does not have to pee all the time, but then the third trimester, there's a baby sitting on her bladder. Now the placenta is putting out massive quantities of steroids, estrogen and progesterone, huge quantities. It's not a complete endocrine organ because it has to have cholesterol from the mother. Cholesterol is the building block of estrogen and progesterone, and it has to get that from the mother, so it's considered an incomplete organ. And speaking of placenta, one of the nurses I worked with had once worked in labor and delivery, and she said that one time that they had helped a woman who did not speak any English give birth, and she named her baby girl Placenta Maria.
Wow.
Which is a beautiful name, Placenta Maria. But she just kept hearing the term placenta. I don't know if she thought that they were referring to the baby. I don't know. That's what she named the baby.
Oh no.
Oh my God. How did you get named? Oh, maybe.
All right, that's just showing that. All right, now then, labor begins. The fetus's adrenal cortex, we haven't talked about the adrenal cortex, we'll do that on Thursday, puts out that hormone that gets converted into estrogen. That's getting the uterus, getting mom's uterus ready for labor and delivery. So it puts in receptors for oxytocin, upregulation. It puts in receptors for prostaglandins, permissive effect. It puts in gap junctions so that all of the smooth muscle cells will act as one during labor. The placenta is also putting out a hormone that's the same as the hypothalamus, which will make ACTH come out of the anterior pituitary so that we can get cortisol. Cortisol promotes maturation of the lungs. So that's why a woman who is in premature labor, they are giving her injections of cortisol to try to get the baby's lungs to be mature, to produce surfactant, so that the baby can inhale. His lungs will expand with the first breath. Surfactant is a type of lipid, and so the steroids are getting the surfactant to be produced so that baby can expand its lungs. We'll talk about that when we get to chapter 16. All right, there's a graph showing all of that because you like your stuff as graphs instead, exactly where all the hormones are coming from. All right, then we've already talked about positive feedback that results in baby being born. Now, once the baby is born, there is no more cervical stretch, so there is no more oxytocin being produced. I can't remember if I talked about this when I talked about positive feedback. Sometimes I do, sometimes not. So now there is no uterine contraction. We have a floppy uterus, and mother will bleed to death, which is the reason for putting baby to the breast right away to get oxytocin so that the uterus will contract down. And then the last hormone is prolactin. That one is working during pregnancy along with multiple other hormones to mature the milk ducts. And then we got that going kind of fast. All right, now then, baby's born. The suckling of the baby or the sound of a child's cry, like you're in Walmart, will cause prolactin and oxytocin to be released, and milk will suddenly start squirting out of your breast.
It will. It will. I'll hear a baby cry like way far off. Not anymore because I don't nurse them that much anymore. But yeah, you hear a baby cry and it's like, oh my gosh, give me that baby. I will make it quit crying. Here. I got something for you. Oh my gosh, sorry, my face is starting red.
Like tucking a t-shirt or something.
It's like what?
How do you not like leak everywhere?
They tuck as their pads.
Oh, okay.
They're round.
I was gonna say, I don't want to like have a new shirt.
All right, now menopause. So around 50, going on for years, the ovaries stop producing estrogen. So initially, there will be high LH and FSH because there is no negative feedback. So there's no estrogen. So more FSH, LH is trying to get those ovaries to put out estrogen. The absence of estrogen is what causes lots of the symptoms like hot flashes. Now that you've had the sympathetic nervous system component, estrogen binds to receptors in the brain and stops the sympathetic response. In the absence of estrogen, norepinephrine binds to those receptors. And so I get the sympathetic response, several times a day, middle of the night, suddenly turn red, break out in a sweat. And hot flashes, blood temperature does not go up, but skin temperature does. Obviously, I've looked this up, of course. All right, men also go through a type of menopause. It's called andropause. Testosterone is steadily dropping off after he reaches 40. And the symptoms, is that not feeling well. So you see all those commercials nowadays about low T, low testosterone. The problem with those is that this is, of course, supposed to be a natural process. This is what's supposed to happen. Testosterone is supposed to decrease. But men who are worried about their vitality start supplementing testosterone, and they're increasing heart attacks. So they are more likely to have a heart attack if their testosterone levels are high. And so that's one of the concerns in the medical community about these commercials about testosterone, getting synthetic testosterone, because it's increasing heart attacks. Now, certainly if a man is younger than 40 and is not producing testosterone, yes, absolutely something needs to be done. But it's also just a part of aging. Now, testosterone is that aggressive hormone, and it's decreasing in men, and so there's more estrogen in comparison. And so that explains why Grandpa is a much sweeter man than he was as Dad.
That's not always true. Grandpa can be pretty mean. Grandpas are impatient.
Well, then we have that whole irritable thing going on, yeah.
For the most
And
part.
then I just hear a lot of
My
people
grandpa's
talk about how their father was mean to them, but as a grandfather, he's very sweet to his grandchildren, and it's because his testosterone levels decreased. All right, estrogen has also decreased, and so now the middle-aged woman is having increased assertiveness and begins to pursue her own interests. And there actually are middle-aged women motorcycle gangs. Huh.
Sounds like
There we go. All right, so that's all for the reproductive lecture. It's 12:20. The handout that I've given you is a case study. It's based off a real study. The guy that had these things happen to him is the one that wrote the case study. It involves not just LH-FSH, but the other, well, not prolactin, but 3 more of the hormones of the anterior pituitary, and those we will talk about on Thursday. So this handout is not due until next week. It does talk a lot about the fact that he's not producing testosterone, why not? But it also addresses growth hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and thyroid stimulating hormone as well. Okay, so you can go ahead and go. Yep, you're turning that in. Some people already have.
Tuesday, April 5th.
Oh, yeah, they're